Thank you so very much, Curtis. And mm, I am thrilled to bring or introduce you to someone I just recently met, and that is Captain Willie Davis, who is retired from United Airlines, founder of Shades of Blue, and who will be bringing us a great program on the 27th of July here in the DC area, honoring African American astronauts. Captain Daniels, welcome to Let's Talk.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Barnes. It's a great pleasure to be here and have an opportunity to speak to you and your audience. Thank you.
Oh no, it's really, how often. Well, let me put it this way: whenever I get off an airplane, the first thing I do is to thank the pilot for getting me to my destination safely. But I'm always really proud to see an astronaut. I mean, a pilot that looks like me.
Mhm.
And first of all, how did you get into the aviation business?
Well, my dream actually started at a very young age, right around 6 or 7 years of age, growing up in Palmdale, California, and moving there from Kansas City over to Palmdale. And my father would take us to air shows and out there in the Southern California area, and that inspired me to want to be a pilot.
I see all those what are the badges or things behind you? What do those represent?
Those were the first 25 missions of the space shuttle program, starting in 1980 and going all the way up until about 2014, 15, and when the space shuttle program ended. And those were the patches of the first 25 missions. And at the time, I was doing some work out of Ames Research Center associated with NASA, and I started collecting the patches of each one of those missions. And it told a little bit about each of the crew members that were on each one of those missions and their histories.
You know, Shades of Blue is an organization, I guess, that look, when you talk about blue, you're talking about the blue skies, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did you come up with that name, and what is the organization about?
Well, I used to fly from Los Angeles over to Sydney, Australia, and back. And when we take off out of Sydney on a return trip, it'd be about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're flying to nighttime. And then when you're about 130, 140 degrees west longitude out over the middle of the Pacific Ocean, you look out on the horizon and you see the hints of the sun coming, the approaching terminator. And then as it got a little closer, you can look in the sky and you see the various shades of blue in the atmosphere. And we really like that. And we figured you cannot get to space unless you go through the shades of blue.
Wow, and that's got to be a really unique experience. And you've been able to know some of those astronauts. Can you name them? I know that there are a lot of, well, actually, how many Black astronauts have there been? Let me ask you that question first.
It's about 19 to 20 altogether.
Okay.
Um,
And
the
that's out of how many, Captain Daniels? What's the total?
Out of about 300 plus astronauts, it's a really small group of people who have had an opportunity in our lifetime to have gone into space, and so it's a very small number, especially for African Americans. And if you if you look at the history, you might have heard of a gentleman by the name of Ed Dwight Jr. He was hand selected by President John F. Kennedy in 1961 to be the very first African American astronaut candidate. And unfortunately, after the Kennedy assassination, Captain Dwight was pushed out of the space program.
Wow.
And just recently, in May of this year, after 60 plus years of being out of the program, he got a chance to fly into space on the Blue Origin. And I was fortunate enough to be out at his launch in May of this year to watch him go up to about 347,000 feet up in the atmosphere. It got over to 2,000 miles an hour and went up above the Kármán line, which was officially the designator for space. in addition to him, we have several of our other friends that was the first African American astronaut to fly in space, which was Dr. Guyon Bluford, who went up in 1983. Then we had Mr. Dr. Ron McNair. Unfortunately, he passed away on the Challenger in 1986. Then you had Colonel Frederick Gregory, who became the very first captain or commander of a space shuttle. And then General Charlie Bolden, who was the fourth African American astronaut. And then the first woman in space, African American female, Mae Jemison, and then Dr.
Yes.
Bernard Harris. Those are the first few, just to name a few.
You know, I'm calling them NASA's little known secrets because we don't, I mean, it's almost like the hidden figures. We, you know, 19 is not a lot, but most of those names should be household names for us.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of names I do know, most I don't know. And why do you think that's the case, Captain Daniels, that we don't know or aren't celebrating the achievements of these African Americans in the space program?
Unfortunately, many of them were not mentioned very much, and so it's very difficult to see someone who you don't really know and recognize their names and things like that. Now, going back early in the space program, you mentioned the hidden figures. Miss Katherine Johnson, she was one of the original architects of all the algorithms that got us up into space, especially in 1962 when astronaut John Glenn, or actually 1961, when John Glenn was going up in space for the first time on a orbital flight around the Earth. And in order to get them from space back to Earth, he had to use her calculations. They called them human computers at that time. And so at our gala, we're going to have a number of individuals that will be receiving the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award for volunteerism. And so we're going to be honoring Ms. Johnson as one of our recipients at that event posthumously. Unfortunately, she passed away in 2020 at the age of 101 years of age.
That's amazing. I mean, and that's exciting that Shades of Blue is taking this opportunity to have this, what you call a Black astronaut reunion,
Mm-hmm.
and to honor these astronauts. Is this the first time that Shades of Blue has had such an event?
This is actually our second event. The first one we held was in 2015. We had 12 of the living African-American astronauts at the time in the house. At the same time, we had 14 astronauts, including Miss Nichelle Nichols, who Lieutenant Uhura on Star Trek, and Herbert Jefferson Jr., who played Boomer in the Battlestar Galactic series, and Ed Dwight, and Cheryl McNair, who was the wife of Dr. Ron McNair. A number of these individuals will be at our event coming up this week. And it's a huge historic event because many of these people are not household names because when they go up in space, you never really get a chance to see a lot about what they're doing and what they accomplish. And the goals and that they have done and the things that they have done not only better us as a people, but better all mankind.
No, that's it. That's fantastic. And where is this event going to take place?
That's going to be at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum at the Stephen Udvar-Hazy Center in Chantilly, Virginia. The times are 6:30 to 10:30 p.m. And if you want more information, you can find information on my website at ourshadesofblue.org. www.ourshadesofblue.org. If you're interested in purchasing tickets and things like that, you can go on our website and purchase tickets right there on the website. It's a
fantastic,
huge historical event.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing, I'll just couple things that I also wanted to ask you about. I know that there are opportunities. I know a young man who actually went to space camp down in, is it Alabama?
Huntsville, Alabama. That's correct.
Huntsville, Alabama. And is there another one in Texas?
I think there's two or three around the country. I don't know all of the different locations. At
Right. But do you find, and through your experiences, that there are more younger folks who are interested in, um, what would we call it? Aeronautics or
aviation
um,
and aerospace.
aviation?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I think now that the word is starting to get out, I work with a lot of the school districts around the country, and right in your backyard, there's an organization called the Council of the Great City Schools. They're located right there near the White House, and this organization is made up of about 78 major urban areas across the United States, and it's nothing but superintendents and school districts across the nation, and they have roughly about 8 million students under their umbrella. So our
Wow.
goal is to help expose young people of color and get them interested in space and aviation at an early age, so that by the time they come out of high school, they're already primed and ready to go, and get them into the colleges. And then when they come out, uh, our main goal with Shades of Blue, which was started 25 years ago, was to get these young people in the pipeline, mentor them, point them in the right direction, track them all the way through college. And once they come out, then we're in a position to run their resumes right into the HR departments.
Are there, like if a young person is planning to go to college but is interested, is there like science, technology? What needs to be their strong suit, or does it really matter these days because
Well,
everybody they all grew up on what do you call PlayStation? So I'm just
the
curious.
PlayStation, all that's part of STEAM and STEAMed, which stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And in 2016, NASA added the D on it, which meant design, because they wanted people to think
Mm,
about, if they're going to travel to Mars, they want to be able to visualize and be able to design what their habitats are going to be like, what the spacecrafts are going to be like that's going to get them there, the ingenuity behind the propulsion systems and things like that. So that's very important for young people to understand that, you're looking at the arts, the math, the science, engineering, all of those things that they're studying in school are very, very important when it comes to getting inside of a multi-million dollar or multi-billion dollar piece of equipment and traveling into space and coming back home safely.
wow. Yeah, and the other question I thought you might be able to help me with, Captain Daniels, because I know our former president established something called Space Force,
Hmm.
and I actually met a young man who proudly worked for Space Force. What is Space Force?
Well, Space Force is basically a continuation. We've actually had a contingent of the military services working in space for many, many years, well
Mm,
before um, the Space Force was created back in 2017, I think it was. And Space Force is basically designed to protect and watch over. We have so much of our technology that's relying on satellites and things like that in space, and with when you have the possibility of having enemies that may be attacking satellites and things like that, you just take a look at today's situation with the technical glitch that happened within the industry, and then all of the airlines were affected and things like that. We are so dependent upon that on our daily lives that we have no idea that these things will affect us. Everything from a cell phone to this computer program that we're doing right now, things like that.
right.
All of that has to be protected, and that's all based on satellites up in orbit. And we got to watch those, and it's also to protect us from other other things that may be out there.
Wow. Well, Captain Daniels, I'm really, really thrilled that you were able to join us today. But I want to mention again the program on July the 27th. We're going to put that back up. I don't know if there's anything else you want to share with us about that, but I know that you are Tickets are available. You're encouraging folks to come. You are going to have, I think, what, 7 of those astronauts? You plan to have them there. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're going to have a number. The total number at this point in time, I'm not certain, but we'll have a number of astronauts that have confirmed that will be there, and we are looking at about 8 recipients of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award, Volunteer Service Award, that will be presented at that event as well. So we have folks coming in. These are other heroes from other educational venues and technical venues that will be receiving that honor for the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Awards.
This is a fantastic. You're retired, what, from United Airlines?
That's correct. I retired from United after 42 years of service. Originally started out as a flight attendant for about 8.5 years, transitioned into the cockpit where I flew Boeing 727s, DC-10s, 747s, 777s, and then retired off the 787 Dreamliner. And then I've started our foundation about 25 years ago to inspire these young kids, because I realized this is a wonderful career to have, and to have a key. When I like to tell the students when I go into the schools and speak with them, when I came out of college at the age of 22, it was like someone reached in their pocket, pulled out a set of keys, and said, "Here are your keys to the world." And I've been traveling the world ever since.
No, that's amazing. I'm waiting to read your book.
Well, thank you very much. The book came out in February.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
February of this year, we unveiled it, and it's called Shades of Blue: Creating Space in the Future. And it's primarily about my life and what it took for me. And we hope to market this to the schools as an inspirational read for the students to follow in my footsteps if they want to go down that path and become an airline pilot or astronaut or engineer or mechanic or scientist. These are great opportunities for them to follow in our footsteps and be able to have an opportunity to travel and see the world.
How can we get your book, Captain Daniel?
It's actually on Amazon right now. There's several venues, several locations that you can find it on, but it's on Amazon for $16 a book, so it's pretty not too expensive, and they can go on Amazon and pick it up.
Well, one thing about us here at Let's Talk on WIN TV, once you're a guest, you're part of the family. And so I certainly want you to feel welcome to come back anytime to talk to us more about Space Odyssey, and I mean, even movies, what's real, what's not real. You have so much, I think, that you can share about the industry, and we certainly would love to know more about just kind of what that whole, I mean, it's a mystery to me. I look in the clouds, but I don't know what's going on up there, but you have a sense of what's going on up there. So I mean, some of our viewers are giving you some great shout outs. They're saying, keep up the great work. And so you have a home here.
Thank you. Just to mention real quick, there's 2 documentaries that was recently released. One was put out through NASA. It's called The Space Race. And the second one was National Geographic, and you can view that on the Disney Channel and Hulu. It's called The Color of Space and the Space Race. The Space Race was put out by National Geographic, and it goes back to the history of Ed Dwight and all of the other African American astronauts that followed in his footsteps. So this is a huge opportunity for people to be educated on African Americans involved in the space program, and then I basically are standing on their shoulders when I went into the airline industry because it's such a complicated industry to get into. But someone that's been there, knows how to get there, we're in a position to help inspire and point people in the right direction to help them achieve their goals as well.
I keep thinking of other questions, and I know we got to go. But when we talk about educational institutions or universities, particularly the HBCUs, is there 1 or 2 or any that have specific programs that you all may partner with?
There's a number of HBCUs that have aviation programs right there in near you. It's Delaware State. You have the University of Southern Texas, or SIU, and there's three or four. You have numerous colleges, Emory-Riddle and Mount San Antonio College in California, and Metropolitan State University in Denver. All of these universities, and by the way, they are partner organizations to what we're doing with Shades of Blue, and how
Wow.
we are able to recommend students to continue their education, because that's important to get the book knowledge and skill. Because when you get into an airplane and you're traveling through the sky at 600 miles an hour, things are happening pretty fast. So if you got that book knowledge in mind, the other things come naturally and easy.
Well, I hope they do have that book knowledge, because I'll be on a long flight in a little while. I make sure that they got the book knowledge
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well as
I understand.
prepare for everything that happens.
I understand you're going to be taking a fantastic trip. And I used to fly down to Australia. I would do about 6 trips in a matter of a couple of weeks, back and forth down to
Oh,
Australia.
wow.
Going down that far, you're traveling from Colorado, which is where I am, down to Australia is about 7,500 miles one way. And so you're looking at
Geez.
mostly water, but you're going to be traveling all the way down to Madagascar, is what I understand.
That's
Those,
right.
those are some fantastic lifetime opportunities. So I say congratulations on that, and have a wonderful time while you're there.
Well, thank you so much. And while I'm awake, during those waking hours, I'll think about you. I hope to be asleep most of the time, though. But I will think about you. Captain Daniels, thank you so very much for being with us, for sharing this great, all the great work that you and so many others are doing, and this great program next Saturday, July 27th. We will encourage folks to be there, and we hope to be there ourselves to cover it.
Well, thank you very much. And it's an honor to be here with you and your guest today.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.